What is good? The parents are not home today, guys. It is just me and all the buttons. I have all the buttons. I am excited to bring another Dynasty Daddy trade show to y'all live right here, right now. So y'all know the deal. Blow up the chat and all those questions. We're going to cover them tonight. Tonight, we can break down your rosters. We can break down any deals you got. So keep them coming. Let's see. We got Big Diaz Energy. Love to see you there. Sean L. You know what's up. I do have a good morning, good people. Shout outs to DD Fantasy. A great community. Great YouTube channel. And also, of course, Ray doing amazing stuff over there. So, guys, got some of his merch right here. So, we do have a good evening going on here. We already got one trade in, so we can just jump right into that. But definitely keep the chat live and active because I don't have my yin and yang right now. So, I got to banter a little bit more. But let's look at this. I'm looking to move a package of RBs for a young wide receiver. I would like to. Let me see. Let me actually. Here's some production. Here we go. Okay, I can see it a little bit better. Sup, Patty Mills. Okay, you're looking to move a package of RBs for a young wide receiver. Would like to get a guy like JSN, Neighbors, Adunze, Marv. All those young, sexy names. Jared MNDZ. League, Brady Bunch. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. 10-team, 1 QB, start 10. Love the site, by the way. Appreciate that. Mick Mac Daddy Pro, a lot of daddy theme in here tonight. Let me pull up your league real quick, and I can I'll have to do a little search. But you gave me the information. I should need to be able to pull it up. So this is some good radio right now as I type this in. And you mentioned it was Brady Bunch. And let me bounce to my stream stuff. Boom. How is that? We got the logged in. Oh, okay. So we're starting off hop. Let me just pull up the message just so I can recall what we're looking for. So you are looking to move a package of RBs for a young guy. Would like to get JSN, Neighbors, Adunze, or Marv. Okay, so it's interesting. I mean, if we look here, it's obviously a important thing. This says it's a 12 team. Am I looking at the right league? Jared, you got to help me out here. This says 12 team. But I mean, looking at this team in general, I mean, I don't necessarily think you really need to go too crazy with trying to give up a running back. I mean, I guess if you look, you have a lot of these depth pieces, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to really use the guys like a Pollard, Pacheco currently. But I mean, honestly, you should probably be able to just use it. If you want to trade a Henderson or a Hampton right off the bat, you probably can get that deal done. I don't think you really need to add much more. You can maybe add a third, maybe toss in like a Shaheed or something, but value-wise, it shouldn't be too far. I can pull up a quick trade here. Ideally, if you're going to be doing a big trade with like one of your top guys, is Neighbors not in a filter? Okay. Right, I mean, you're probably going to want to go for like... Damn, I did not realize Neighbors was that high. What is the RB wide receiver 3 on Keep Trade Cut? That is insanely valuable. Okay, my bad, 12 team. I just making sure I'm typed in the right league. I mean, you could probably... maybe Neighbors is a little too high. I think you could probably get Marv straight up, to be honest. If you're like, I need to get out, like you could probably just toss it. I said it right here. I read it like that. Hampton in a third, you probably can get Marv. Would I do it? Probably not. I'm kind of more of a Hampton guy at this point than a Marv guy. But you could probably do like a Henderson and get into that range if you want to move one of the top guys. If you want to move one of those grosser guys, you're probably looking at, like Kenneth Walker in a second, but they have to also be in a situation where they have a ton of wide receivers. I can quickly take a look at some of those teams. Where's Jackson? Is it spelled that way? Yep. Oh, look at me. I'm good. Overall rank, I mean, this is a contender. They're definitely over leveraged, so picks probably mean more to them. I could see them potentially wanting someone like a Henderson in a second or something like that. But I mean, I would kick it around. I wouldn't feel like this is kind of like a nice to have type of trade, in my opinion. Like, you could roll in, like, I mean, what was it? Terry McLaurin was wide receiver like 6 last year, and then you got Hunter and Brian Thomas. I mean, you already have young guys, so I'm not too concerned about this roster in particular. So I wouldn't try to force anything through. But, you know, if you're really like, yo, I need neighbors, I mean, go for it. But you definitely have youth and talent. And at the end of the day, like, the difference between like a T. Higgins or a McLaurin or a Henderson and, you know, some of these guys you mentioned is probably not a lot. So I probably lean towards don't go too crazy. You know, like you don't need to take all the stuff yet. But if you really do want it, you should probably be able to get it done with like Henderson in a second. That should probably get you into that conversation. Let's take a look at what else we got here. We got Patty Mills. Let's go, Jeremy. I need people to hype me up when it's just me, because right now I am talking. If I think about it too much, I realize I'm talking to a wall. So I do appreciate the hype. And drop a trade in Discord. We will make sure to hit that right after we get to this trade by my one of my favorites, Chuck. Welcome back. We gave up the 102, the 302, and the 27 third for the 107, a 26 second, and a 27 first. Thoughts? I will say right out the gate, I've been like, I don't know, man. Kind of a lot. I would have probably still done it because you get that future first. But you are telling me the 107 became the Hunter? I mean, who went? I mean, did someone take Shadir Sanders? I mean, how did that happen? How did Hunter fall to the 107? This is an absolute fleece. I mean, Hunter. Some people are taking Hunter at the 102. I mean, we can pull it up real quick. See, this is something you got to run through the Dynasty Daddy experience right here. I mean, if we look at some of the ADPs, this is, I guess, startup. Hopefully it doesn't crap itself. I did redraft. Okay, see, I am clueless. Let's filter ADP. Look at this. Pick 1. Pick 2. Pick 3. I mean, there's not even a pick 7 in, like, there's a few of these like crazy ones, but I mean, almost every single pick in the past couple weeks for Travis Hunter has been better than the 107. So I mean, you got an outlier league where somehow you got lucky. I know I was surprised too. A guy took Ward at. I don't hate taking Ward at 102, and it's something I wanted to talk about because I had a draft where I think if you are a QB needy team, the best pick is probably the 105. Because a lot of people are just saying, oh, well, Ward isn't like this flashy, cool player, so I'm going to let him fall. But if you need him, you're like, okay, cool. Like, if anyone's going to bite the bullet, take Ward. I can figure out how to address quarterback production, whether it's through a Geno Smith type player or something like that. Or he can fall to the 105, and you're like, well, fine, I take the value there. I do know Henderson has kind of jumped him recently in terms of keep trade cut value, but in general, that's kind of how I've been feeling. I feel like that 105, if you're QB needy, is the best spot to be because you just get whatever the best value is. But let's see what's next. I know, Chuck, that was an incredible trade. We got shout outs to the lovely Becca. She's the new intern in monitoring the Discord. So definitely, she called it out. I didn't mention, if you post in the Livestream Ask channel or the Livestream Ask Club channel, those channels, we'll make sure to hit them. Sometimes it's hard to compile and compress everything into one small little chat message. So definitely feel free to post in there, and we'll pull them up and go through all of your information as well. Speaking of that, let's take a look. Let's see how the intern is doing. Perfect. We got a lot going on here. Okay, cool. Let me get this league ID, and I will put it in. It looks like... actually, it looks like we got Big Diaz Energy is in here. Let me pull out this league ID real quick and log in. But how is everyone feeling tonight? We got a lot of rosters to go through, and I am going to try to organize it the best I can. We don't have our usual programming because Will is on a fun business trip right now. But he did tell me if we get 100 likes on this video, we will call him on stream live. Anyway, let's take a look at this league right here. This is by one of our classics, Big Diaz Energy. He posted the champ in the 101 league just finished a rookie draft. 3 exclamation marks, so I imagine he made out good. 3 rounds, ton of waiver prospects. How do you prioritize these gyms? $100 fab. I have $101 fab. So you're kind of balling here. You sold Cam Akers for $1. That's funny. Okay, so let's touch on the draft for a second. See how you made out. Obviously, you had the 101. We can pull up the mock drafts real quick, just to give a little preview of all the fun going on here. I should do this. Obviously, I would say who's the guy that has all the data to do this? It would be me, but I want to just see how many teams have this problem of you won the league and you have to have the number 1 pick. You also have the 102. I mean, I'm curious to see what that trade was. 101, pick up Gene T. That's an amazing deal. 102. I think these picks are amazing value as well. These early seconds. Pick up an extra quarterback, Jackson Dart. Sounds like, from what I've saw, he may just be sitting on the waiver wire for a while. Or not waiver, but on the bench. Which, if that's the case, you're a contender, you're probably I don't really need him to start now. I can sit him on the taxi, but something to consider. But I do think it's a great value just because he kind of fills that Bo Nix, Penix type of range, especially if he's on the bench, where it's we're never going to really see him, but he's a first-round quarterback. He'll still hold a certain amount of value. And then at the end, this is a beautiful value right here. Jaden Blue. He's someone that's been rising up the board super quick. And we can see here, this is rookie draft ADP for him. I mean, you are lucky. You are lucky to get him. He usually ends up in the early third, and to be able to snag him at the 307, amazing value. Amazing value here. That's 25%. 25% of leagues, he's available at the 307. So you made out good there. And Dylan Sampson, I'm also a pretty big fan of. I don't think he's as scarce, but similar range. I feel like a lot of people are taking them in that early, the mid, third range. So definitely good job with the draft. Let's touch on your fab. To me, fab is always a weird thing. I don't know if you mentioned, and I'll have to double check the chat. I don't have my second pair of eyes. Oh, there's my chat window. Let me see here. I don't know if you mentioned Big Diaz. If it resets, obviously if it resets, I'm more inclined to hold because it's more important. But if we're looking at rookies that are free agents, this is my favorite way of doing it. Go to the power ranking or the fantasy player rankings, and most of them. I will say usually I'm don't pick up a wide receiver, don't pick up a tight end. Try to pick up a lot of those quarterbacks. I probably would stash I think Will Howard's probably a good one just because we don't really know what their QB situation looks like. Jalen Royals, I feel will get hype. Even though, you can see his value jumped significantly after getting his landing spot, even though he's in honestly not the best spot or not the best draft capital. He was in a pretty decent spot, but not the greatest draft capital situation. But typically I would just try to hammer some of these running backs, right? I think a Hunter is a great pickup. Taj Brooks is another great pickup. A lot of these guys, I kind of like Brashad Smith. I'm not completely sold. We've seen in that backfield where a 7th round running back was able to kind of demand significant workload in Pacheco. You can't rule out any sort of running back in one of the best offenses out there. But I would really be smashing a lot of these running backs, especially Hunter. And I do think Howard's someone I probably would pick up. And I know I'll give a shout out to the shirt. I remember on the draft, I think it was the post-draft stream or wake up, Ray mentioned that the people he's been talking to talked about Ollie Gordon being used a lot in in Miami, and he does kind of have a different style of running as Pacheco, so he could potentially be a Mostert type. I'm not saying he's going to score as much as Mostert, but he could potentially have some sort of role, which is certainly exciting to look at. But anyway, I do appreciate that. I would say, I mean, in general, if you're, let me double check and see. It does not reset for the year. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't reset for the year, what I would say is I'm looking to more just shoot a bunch of darts and like go all in on a certain player, because the odds that I know which running back's going to have the opportunity or which wide receiver, honestly, even like given that I only have Andrews here, picking up a Harold Fannin as just kind of like insurance wouldn't be bad as well. But I would kind of burn maybe 20% or so. I just don't want to get caught with my pants down when I actually need it. And I think the most important window for those waiver or for fab is obviously when you have injuries. That's number one. But two is those first like 2-3 weeks where you have like, not every year, but you have those Puka breakouts where it's like, oh wow, this guy's usage is completely different than what I thought. That's when you can really take some educated throws, when right now you have like a million rookies and you're like, oh, all of these guys are exciting. It's hard to know which one to actually invest in. But thank you again. Big deal, guys. I always love the energy and always love the questions. Let's pull up the next one. And we'll go back to this one as I sort it all out, because the Discord be booming, and I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anyone. So I apologize if it's out of order. I am just trying to fly by the seat of my pants with some of this stuff. So let me touch on, I believe I said, I think Patty Mills, you said it was Patty Mills. Is your league this one? Is it the Kirko bands? I did put up your comment and then I took it away and showed a different roster. So I want to make sure I get to you. Don't leave you hanging for too long. Yep, it definitely is. Let's jump right into it. And let me hide this comment. Oop. Okay, there we go. Cool. We are living. Let me pull up the message. Okay, so broadly, what do you think of this team? Can it compete this year? I know it's early, but is this one of the teams where I just got to wait until the season starts to see what happens? Any trade ideas? Okay, well, I will say, you're good. You're good, right? There's a reason they call you Big Kirko, because this is crazy. I mean, you got literally the two best quarterbacks in the game. I mean, outside of Josh Allen. But, I mean, there's a 4-person tier, and you got 2 of them. So you basically dominate the quarterback market here. And I imagine most Superflex leagues of this kind, and especially 14-team, if we pull up the war real quick, you're going to really just see, I don't want to, I'm not, it's not late enough for me to start talking about war and putting all y'all to sleep, but you can see, obviously, quarterbacks are easily the most impactful. League breaking tier, 5 of the 7 league breakers in this format are last year were quarterbacks. So you have pretty good odds of getting significant production from these guys. Also picking up guys like a Dart, Levis. This is going to be one of those leagues where you really want to stack the box at quarterback, because you're going to be able to really hold your league hostage. So love the roster construction here. That is great. Let's see. Okay, wrong question, but is that no for input? Would love to send Rome and a first for CD. I wouldn't hate that. Honestly, I think the things that would stand out to me in this type of format is 14 start 9. So it is a rather deep format, but you're pretty consolidated. And that's a good thing, right? You have Henry, you have Chuba. I would probably say one option I would look for, and this is something you don't have to do now, but maybe, week 4, week 5, when bye starts hitting, I'd probably be looking for a little bit more depth at the running back position. That being said, could you do Rome and get CD? I think that's a great deal. I think CD is like extremely underrated. I mean, if we look at just his, let's just take a look at his trade value over the past however long. But I mean, if we look at CD Lamb back in literally last year, he was seen as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and people were like, oh, his quarterback got injured, and now he's still valuable, still certainly valuable, but he's now gettable, and that's something that, for me, if I can take a prospect in a roam and package it with this pick, which, let's be honest, this team is probably, and we can take a look at the playoff calculator just to reinforce that. This team is pretty confidently a playoff team currently. So I would kind of say, okay, I'm okay if I get a good option to tier up significantly to trade what is hopefully like the 110 or later in a 14-team league. I would certainly do that. So I do think, Patty, that's a good trade. I would definitely make a move like that. This is not a team where I feel like I need to make moves, but it's something where it's like if one of those big type of moves where I can just get – I'm only trying to move first if I can get a centerpiece like a CD, right? Other than that, I can say I can buy an RB3 midseason. I can buy plug-and-play guys where I need them. But if the option to buy a CD comes available, you go out and get it, especially when you're – starter rank 1, overall value 6, you kind of have the luxury to say, yes, let me go get that guy. So I would agree to go out and get that type of that player if it's available. Let's jump in to our next one. I'm trying to we are moving and grooving. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Patty Mills. Let's see. We got that. We got middling team here. Borderline, ready for a rebuild. What's an acceptable package to move off of Saquon now or hold until closer to the season? That is a very good question. So I will say, I think this is kind of like I think there's 2 opportunities for you to sell a Saquon. And I'll say that because I experienced it in a league I had, the Dynasty Daddy League that we'll do. And we're going to open up more, okay? So if y'all want to play with us. But with Saquon, I saw Saquon go in a package for the 102, right? So I think there's potentially some people that are going to be on the clock and be like somewhat contenders. And they're like, I don't want Saquon, or like, I don't want to take this 102. I would rather have production now. And you can go out and buy that. And that's something you'll see too with like the trade market, right? Like, George Pickens is the most traded player. I'm not trying to say go buy him right now, but I just like to say if we look at the trade market, this is trade market for George Pickens. But we can see obviously the past couple weeks has been a huge peak in people buying and making moves. So if you could sell him now, I would look to do it. If you wait a week or so, I'm not trying to sell him until probably week 5, week 6 when injuries hit and you have the option to actually sell him for a decent price. Obviously you risk. Oh, whoops! I was talking about my screen. Let me jump back just to show you what I was talking about. Here we go. We're doing it live. But yeah, here's George Pickens, his weekly trade volume. What I was talking about with George Pickens was not to worry about George Pickens, but just to see that the volume of trades has spiked hugely in the past month, basically. You could probably find a good deal for him right now, but once you get back to the summer and people aren't checking the rosters all the time, I would rather just hold and say, okay, once people are again invested, you're probably going to get better value, better bang for your buck there. I do think, like, obviously Saquon's not a good rebuilding piece, but he's also a player. Like, if I'm a rebuilder, I'm not trying to sell immediately because I'm not scoring points, right? It's the same logic of like, oh, you don't need to worry about your QB3 or QB2 right now, because you don't have to set up lineup until September or whenever. As long as you move them relatively soon and you're not holding on to that risk of injury throughout the entire NFL season, that's a good process to me. We got to give you some dart propaganda. Hey, I mean, if he sits on the bench for a while, I think he's just going to hold his value for a long time. Let's see, Justin Hogan. Welcome to the stream. Should I trade the 2025 112 and A.J. Brown for the 2025 101 and 2026 101? What should be top 3 to NT Higgins? Brother, you take it. You take it and you run, and you don't think about it ever again, because that is going to be a deal. Like, I mean, 2 101s, and you get rid of a 28-year-old wide receiver and the 112. Like, are you serious? Yeah. You smash that trade, take the T. Higgins side. I mean, unless if it's literally like an 8-team start 4 players type of league. Most formats, you're definitely going to go with the 2 101s. Obviously, we can't know for certain. 2026 is the 101, but still decent odds there. Jalen Merritt, Royals, or Ollie Gordon? I'm probably going to go Ollie Gordon. I'm kind of buying into the hype. I think people like Ollie Gordon deep down. And if he starts getting decent usage there, then I imagine he'll have a great role. Sean, I know you got the club ask, and I will be pulling that up right now. We are bouncing all around, so I appreciate the patience as I try to piece together all the rosters, because we got a lot of different feeds, and I am just myself right now. But I appreciate everyone for hopping in to, once again, one of the favorite times of the week is doing these live streams. So I always appreciate everyone commenting, supporting the channel. I don't have the live subscriber count, so we can't see it go up, but we are close to 1,300 subs, so obviously you know what to do with that. Anyway, let's jump into Sean L. Borderline a founder of the channel at this point. I think every single stream I've seen Sean L post a message, so I appreciate the support there. Let me make sure I get the question. Whoops! I think I read the wrong. I read the wrong question. Sorry, Patty Mills. Yes, but that was about your Rome and CD. Okay, cool. So that Sean L was asking about this team. Yes. Okay. What do you think of this team? Can it compete this year? I know it's early, but is this one of those teams where you just got to wait until the season starts to see what happens? Any trade ideas? Okay. So when I'm evaluating this team, first thing I want to figure out would probably be, I got to start off boring, right? Got to start off boring. 5 tight ends. Is there some crazy tight end premium? Let me double check here. I don't know if it's mentioned. Okay, so it is a one. Okay, so it is a decent tight end premium. So I'm not gonna give you some crap there. Obviously, rostering a ton of tight ends can be worrisome. You know, I did 3 roster reviews today, and some of them it will just be like 8 tight ends. And there's no tight end premium. And I'm like, why are you using all these roster spots on there? But yeah, I'm fine with holding some of these guys. I probably get rid of one just because I'm stingy. But you got some solid. I mean, Laporta is obviously a smash lock, and then you have this guy. You know, Isaiah Likely. He's a decent flex option. Yeah, I mean, looking at this team, obviously your starter rank isn't ideal, so it's not like a team that's probably locked and loaded to go this year. Promising things is you have so many second round picks this year or next year, which gives me the idea of like, I'm going to try to see what I can do to take these second round picks mid season sometimes and flip them for first, right? The more I can do that, the better things will go. Cause if I can just get an extra first or so, that will just help me out a ton, especially in a 12 team start 11. A lot of times with a 12 team start 11 or 12 team start 12s, like these deeper types of formats, it's literally like, do I just have enough valuable players that I can actually field a roster? And like, you can clearly see a lot of the draft picks you made here. Tootin, obviously Giddens, Hunter, you have a lot of decent shots, but what you're going to want is like being able to just take a bunch of these first and just stockpile. Like I love the Kyler Murray hold. He's super underrated. Love the Rashee Rice, but you're still probably 3-4 decent starters away from being that locked in guy. So to me, the goals of this team are selling on the hype on mediocre prospects, right? If Tootin comes out and crushes, maybe I can take Tootin and and sell on some of that hype and get a decent value. I mean, Tootin could have that Bucky Irving sort of season if things go crazy. So that's something too to consider. But yeah, I mean, I think you have a bunch. I love like the Rice and the Kylers. These are where you try to target those buy lows. Honestly, even Jalen Hurts. Let's talk about how he's underrated. He's top 4, locked and loaded. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a team where it's like, again, like every news story, every injury, I'm going to be the first team to reach out to the other team and be like, oh, I heard your tight end got injured. Do you need a tight end? I heard your running back got injured. Do you want a young run? You know, like, and just constantly be trying to say, how many first can I get? How many shots at high-end players can I get? You know, first and early seconds. I do think you're probably 1 year away from really being able to make a push, especially in a deeper format like this. You're not one stud. You're not one Gene T away. You're going to probably need a bunch of them. But guys like Harvey, Gene T, Kyler, Murray, Hurts, Hunter, Rice, and Laporta are all solid. You just kind of have to figure out those 4 spots. That being said, maybe you're impatient. You have enough seconds. If your market has a bunch of these teams that have cheap, old vets, you could potentially, like, this team might be like, I don't want Breece Hall. And you're like, okay, like, I could work out a deal and snag a Breece Hall. I don't want a David Montgomery. Okay, maybe I can throw a second and get a David Montgomery. So it depends how patient you are. I mean, if you have a million leagues, Sean, you said you're patient. See, this is one of those, like, I don't feel like I need to make that move, but the second round picks is kind of where I'm thinking. It's like, how can I turn these into first? How can I turn these into pieces that fit my window? But I mean, this is a great build. Even though it says you're 10 right now, second in value, eventually that's going to come to roost. And honestly, it's going to come to roost next year. Next year, going to be a locked and loaded team. It's going to be hard to compete with you long term. There's probably going to be a team up here that has, like, Jesus, how many wide receivers do you have? But there's going to be teams up here that can compete with you, firepower week to week. But in general, the more you can build around a bunch of young players that are trending upwards in value, obviously in a deeper league like this, that's better. Even if they're kind of like half hits, right? Like in some of these leagues where you got like a Rome or a JSN or a Egbuka or what am I trying to think of? Like Xavier Worthy, where it's kind of like I'm kind of excited, but I'm kind of not excited. Those are perfect players for a format like this, where it's like I can kind of ride this somewhat excitement and live with that. So, anyway, that's I think that covers all I have. Let me try to relive what's going on in the chat and see if I missed anything. Let's see. We got Jeffrey Jacobs. Welcome. Just made a trade. Let's sound the alarms. While the pick was on the clock, 12-team Superflex PPR, 1 point tight end premium, start 10. Complete rebuild. Who earned the 101? Okay. Complete rebuild. Who earned the 101? You sent Ayuk in 110, got the 104. Let's see how many. Yeah. I mean, I take that. I'm. Shout out to my friend Evil Jeremy. I won't expose him, but as he says about Ayuk, Ayuk is a 10-point merchant, right? You're not getting much out of him, especially with the injuries. There's a lot of concern there. 110, you're probably looking at like a meh guy. Lock and Hunter, I think that's good, especially as a rebuild. You just need a ton of those high-end targets. Similar to what I talked about with Sean L's roster we just looked at. Oftentimes, if you earn the 101, if you're one of those bottom teams, you really just need as many shots on those top talents. Like last year, we didn't know Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be good. We didn't know Lad McConkey was going to be great. We didn't know Xavier Worthy would turn it on towards the end. But they did, and now they still hold their value. And even if they kind of missed, where they're kind of like meh, you still get Rome with Dunze. You still get a lot of those guys. So that's why picks are valuable. People don't want to be patient, but if you're patient, it pays off. You demand. Thank you, Patty. Michelle says, obsessed with the pillows. Yes, it's a pillow night. It is a pillow night. Welcome to another episode. Started a heavy rebuild. Let's go, Phil. I will say rebuilds are the best, aren't they? Like, it's just like, oh, like I lost. Cool. Like, I just get to enjoy football, enjoy the draft. I don't have to bite my nails. Anyway, drafted Tyler Warren. Wondering if I should double dip and trade for Loveland as the owner doesn't love him. That's it's a little wording there. Thoughts. League is XX Extra Fun Dynasty. I don't know if I have your league ID, Phil. If you could post that or post your username, I could take a look. Thoughts on double dipping on tight end. In general, I think it's really, really format dependent, right? For me, you don't mention your format here. So I'm assuming kind of like a 12-team league. Typically, you start one tight end, maybe a small tight end premium. If we're looking at a full like double tight end premium, like 1 point per reception and then 1 bonus point for tight end reception, then I would potentially consider something like that. Especially if the guy is like, I don't really like Loveland. Typically, though, I feel like I can get better value doing it in a different position. Tight end is just such a hard position to move. Something I don't think people visualize until they try to actually sell a tight end, right? You go on Dynasty Daddy and you're like, oh, this tight end should be worth a second. And then you go out and try to send Njoku for a second for everyone. And everyone's like, I'm not going to do that. It's because most teams, most leagues are like 10 team or 12 team, and most teams already have a tight end. They're like, well, I mean, I'm okay rolling with Jonnu. I'm okay rolling with, Pat Freiermuth and Taysom Hill. Like, they're not going to be like, I need to go upgrade that. So it's also just a hard position to move unless you really have one of those elite guys like a Bowers or someone like that. So that's kind of why I'm hesitant about using one of that or trying to trade up and get a tight end, especially since you already invested in one. But if you have a significant tight end premium, I would consider change my opinion. I appreciate it. A Big Diaz, breathe, brother. Yeah, I'm like, I gotta fill dead air, but I appreciate the positive vibes. That's what we need here. Let's see. I don't know if this might have been the league we were looking at. The 0.2 point per carry and 2 PPR. Yeah, 2 PPR for tight end. That's why it's okay to roster tight ends in a 2 PPR for tight end type of league. I would go get Loveland in that type of league if you want to. It all depends on the price. Yes, hair. Thank you, Don. Hair is looking snazzy. It's a little bit of a mini mullet, so we're bringing it back. Mullets and mustaches. And Evil Jeremy, not a fan, so we'll see how that's going. Love the new hair. A lot of hair comments. Thank you, Casey. And let's see. Okay, we got Tristan is pooping. We're getting some meaningful comments here. Yeah, the hard launch of the mullet. I guess this is true. This is the first mullet moment. Unless if you get one of my exclusive roster reviews I was doing today. They got earlier access to the mullet. But it's more of a summer type of vibe, right? Okay, let's see. I got this one. I think this is a Dynasty Society. Oh, nope. Okay, I'm trying to see, is this Delta Echo Whiskey? Let's see. I am not able, I'll probably have to pull it up in Discord real quick. I'm not able to connect to that league. Let's see. Oh, yeah. If you are listening to this, you can literally just copy and paste the URL of the website. You don't even have to copy the ID. You can copy and paste the URL of the website and paste it into the Discord, and that will boot up the site to exactly where we're at. Tristan asked a good question. I guess he is back. Why don't I love Loveland? I know Tristan. Tristan is the commissioner of the Dynasty Demon Leagues. I know he is a big fan of Colston Loveland. Obviously, top 10? It was like borderline top 10, if I recall correctly. Tight end, right? I'm not out on him. I just feel like it's a crowded room, and tight end is just a position that doesn't have a ton of market value. I will say I could totally be wrong. I'm not. It's totally in his range of outcomes to have a Laporta, a Bowers type season, but it's also very reasonable to say maybe he's a Kincaid. Maybe he's kind of like drafted highly, and everyone's like, dare I mention Kyle Pitts? So to me, I just think there's probably better value. Like, I'd rather just take a shot at running back, at wide receiver in most formats. Now, you could give me a funky format where I'm like, ooh, Loveland fits. Or if I have a stack, right? If I'm riding onto the ghost of Anthony Richardson and hoping that somehow works out, I could maybe stack him with Tyler Warren, or if I have a Caleb Williams. I do think he'll be usable, but tight ends are just so hard to project volume-wise that I usually will prefer an Egbuka or a Harvey or a Johnson, like, before I try to go after one of those tight ends. I will say, too, it's kind of like an odd situation of we got two high-end tight ends. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, like, I don't have to take the first one, so I can just take the second one. They both basically got picked back-to-back. So to me, I don't have a huge preference. Like, obviously, Tristan's a big Loveland over Warren guy. I don't really care. To be honest, they both fill the same need on my team. If I'm picking them, I am just riding with that tight end and hoping that they're good. Can we see the football on the bookshelf? Yeah, say Bryce Young. I do have it in a case, so it's a little bit, but I got it as a wedding gift. But it's Bryce Young signed football. That's when I knew Bryce Young was going to be a stressful QB situation to watch the ups and downs on. So that to me is a fun experience. But he's coming back. He's coming back. We believe. But yeah, honestly, it's probably be better if I put this here. Let's see. Chuck, you also traded the 210, 402 Slayton and Blake Corum for the 305, 410 Ertz in a 27-second. 305 became blue, and also drafted ETN and Jordan. I think it's Jordan James, right? Or is it Jesse James? I don't remember. In the 4th. Okay, yeah. I mean, I love the picks of smashing running back, especially ETN, James. Again, I mean, the story is the same, right? The story is the same. They could get their starter could get injured, and they all of a sudden have a role. So to me, I think that's an amazing situation to be in. With the third that became blue, earlier I remember I pulled up in the stream. We talked about how blue is kind of like this early third-ish range. So I think that's great value on blue. He's been rising up boards. Maybe could break into the late second, depending on your league. But that'll be interesting. What's my thoughts on... I mean, honestly, I think this is somewhat fair. I mean, it's kind of just re-rolling a second, but a future second, I'll take probably at the 210. Like, the 210 is basically just a better dart throw than blue, which honestly, I could see blue going at the 210 in some leagues. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty decent trade. You get your future value. You still ended up with decent players, and Ertz is probably a sneaky tight end option, right? Another one of those guys where you're like, why did I pick Loveland? I can just get Ertz for free. Thoughts on Olave for Waddle straight up? They feel very similar to me. Welcome, Andrew. Yeah, man, I think both of them are kind of the same, in my opinion. I would lean Waddle just because concussion concerns. I feel like Olave just has that Tua stink to him of like, every time he gets tackled, my heart stops a little, and I'm like, please get up, please don't get hurt. So for longevity concerns, I feel like Waddle will probably maintain his value longer. And if Tyreek Hill talks his way off the team, or has another baby mama, which he probably already does, something could happen that Tyreek Hill is away from the team. If that happens, then I do think Waddle has a story to tell. Whereas Olave's getting thrown to by Shuck and Rattler and the ghost of Drew Brees or whoever's there. So I just think Waddle's in a much better situation. Would I do it straight up? I don't really like straight up deals, but I probably would. This is going back to our trade up for trade up for Loveland. Phil says it's not in a tight end premium league, but I may be able to get Loveland for a 2027. Yeah, I mean, I would do it for a 2027 second, I feel like. I do think if you do end up doing that, I mean, I probably would do it just because like the value's there. But I am probably going to be saying, okay, what can I do with Warren or something like that? I mean, unless if I want to flex those guys, which realistically, I don't know if one of them will be a difference maker. Do I think both of them will be a difference maker? Probably not. So that would be my concern there. Also, love the hair. I'm beginning to rock a similar style. See, mullets are back. People thought mullets and mustaches weren't back, but now they are. You traded Noel for Tillman in 2028 second. Who won? I mean, who won? I would say you. I would say you probably, if I'm thinking about the same player. Jalen Noel. Let's see. We'll jump into here real quick. I mean, obviously, I think his value jumped because he got a decent landing spot in Houston. So you're selling him off the good news, which is great. Let's look at some trades. His trades have been continue to climb. But I mean, I think this is about a fair trade, right? To me, he's kind of worth like any third at this point. I'm not too excited about him long term. But let me just let's pull up a few extra trades. Just because I honestly haven't even dabbled with him too much. Let me put the assets down. Let's get a little bit more granular. I mean, like this. It's like Noel in a third for Kendre Miller and Minshew. So, I mean, that's basically nothing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great deal. To me, if I can get a second, I get Tillman. Realistically, is Tillman going to score about as much as Jalen Noel? Probably. But I think you're just kind of selling off the hype. I'm curious to see where his ADP currently is at. Obviously, this is startup drafts, which is much lower. But let's pull up the rookie ADP, and we can kind of get a better idea. Okay, I mean, he's looking at early third right now. Yeah, I mean, if you could take an early third, turn it into a second plus a player that's probably going to produce about the same, to me, that's fine. You might not have the dynasty name. You could lose the trade if he blows up, but he's probably not going to be anything that crazy since they already invested in Higgins. They gave Higgins a massive contract for a second-round wide receiver, and they still have Nico Collins. So there's a lot to go around. And I also don't think we're talking about the fact that I don't think CJ Stroud has an offensive line. I mean, they got rid of every offensive lineman there is. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess in that situation right now. Let me jump over to this chat. I personally like Noel, but I felt like I had to accept. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like process brain is telling you, man, I have to take this, but I do like the player. But if you're able to flip an early third for a future first, even though it's like in 2028, who knows if, who knows what will be happening in 2028. But, flexibility is flexibility. The value of a future second or a future first is so nice. And especially if you can get one of those picks for a player that realistically is not cracking your lineup, unless if it's a 12-team, start 13 type of league or some super crazy format. Yeah, I'm taking that any day. Let's see what we got going on here. Had Rice get traded for a 26 and 27 first today in one of my leagues. You know what? Dab a Dubby. I've seen that name before. Welcome back, by the way. I mean, that's cinema, right? That is one of those deals where you're going to talk about it for years. If you can take Rice and get 2 first for him. I do think Rice is someone that, I remember the injury happened, everyone panicked. And this is why one issue I do have with dynasty analysis and fantasy football analysis is, especially in dynasty, it's like injury happened, oh no, sell him for anything. And if you look at how the market reacts, the player always is at the lowest right when the injury happens. So you need to make that decision based on the value that player has, and can he get back to that tier of breaching a first-round pick, right? That's basically the threshold of this is a valuable player, is a first-round pick. Can I get a first-round pick for a player? Rice was someone, wide receiver 1, basically, first 3 weeks, gets injured, is out, still super young, tied to Mahomes. All these things you could talk to yourself into. Obviously an amazing, super young, amazing situation. All those things you can talk about. And I saw people saying, oh, I trade him for, Deontay Johnson or something crazy like that. Those are the types of deals I'm not trying to make at all. Those are the players you hold on to. Those are the players you buy as a rebuilder. You need to be aggressive when a player that has the value insulation that Rashee Rice does, and whoever gets injured this year, it's gonna happen where a young player gets injured. It's going to have some sort of value insulation, and they'll have another chance. I mean, just look at Justin Fields. I mean, that man, it's like Carowinds with it. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down, but you can sell him for a first every other month, it feels like. So that's what you're trying to do. Yeah, and Sean mentioned as well, the suspension influenced that value drop too. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much built into that value drop that I'm just like, I'm not really scared of. Another great example is like, I remember it was Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara fought someone in Vegas or whatever. And everyone's like, oh, it's over, man. And I'm like, it's probably going to be like a 3-game suspension. If my team can't compete, if my team can't compete or can't survive the first 3 weeks without Kamara, what am I doing? I've clearly made massive mistakes elsewhere in my roster. It's not a concern. I'm not too concerned unless if you're talking season-long suspension, something like that. Rice, we might see 4 games, might see 6, but I'm not expecting him to be gone forever. And I do think too, I remember, I forgot where I heard it, but someone said they had a contact where it sounded like it was going to be a 2026 issue. So we might see Rice back for all of 2025 before we even talk about some sort of suspension. the longer you push, kick the can down the road, people are gonna be like, wait, what happened again? Especially on that the Chiefs team. I mean, they're basically the Georgia Bulldogs for getting behind the wheel. Like, it just feels like it's any wide receiver there has an issue. Chuck is back, and he said, I was dabbling through old videos. Do we still have access to draft recaps through the website? Didn't see the right buttons, but I am not on a computer. Yeah, so I don't recall on mobile, because mobile I have to design differently, but we do still have draft recaps. It's just underneath mock drafts, and you just click it. If you're logged into a league, you can see it. You can click on these. It will filter to that specific team. You can also click on the player. It will pull up their draft ADP from rookie drafts or startup drafts or whatever drafts you're doing. It also has keeper, right? Best value per pick. So if you are in a keeper league, it gives you some extra stuff. Like, shout outs to our very own Sean L. Best value in the draft. And then you can also do other filters and things like that. So we do still have that feature. It's just a little bit more hidden. Might rework it a little bit before the start of real fantasy season and everyone starts clamoring for fun draft features. Let's see. Henry, should I be looking to trade away Scadaboo for a vet? This is dependent on if we think Scadaboo's value is inflated and at its cap. Do you think this? This is a good question, because you are basically asking exactly what I did. So I may be a little bit biased, but I had a league, and I'll pull up Cam Scadaboo's value. We can also look at ADP Daddy, but Cam Scadaboo is kind of falling in, and I can look up the draft ADP, but he's kind of falling in the range of that mid-second, right? I had the 205, for example. I was going to take him at the 205 in a draft, but I believe I had, what was it? It was the 102, it was the 105, and the 102, I think I had the two something, I forgot. But basically what I did is I got RJ Harvey at the 201, and my team needed running backs really bad. So I was like, okay, I already got my kind of young guy I like. Scadaboo to me at the 205. If I can trade him for a vet, I ended up trading him for Chuba and Rico Dowdle. I was just basically like, get me a guy I know is going to have an instant role, not a ton of competition. I feel pretty confident in Chuba's long-term outlook on that team behind a good offensive line. I do think it depends roster-wise. Like, if I'm a rebuilder or kind of like this weird fraud team, according to my rankings, if I'm kind of in that range, sure, I'd probably just take the upside of a Scadaboo. But if you could flip a Scadaboo into someone that is closer to actual production. I mean, some of these trades are crazy. Golden in 2 seconds. I mean, like, who would do that? But if you could trade him for, I mean, Najee in the first is weird. I mean, Najee's kind of a backup, but I'm taking any first for Cam Scadaboo. But, for me, to sum it all up, what I would say is, yes, I would trade him for a vet, depending on the vet. Does he have some security? Does he, I'm not trading him for B-Rob, but someone like a Chuba tier, I think that's a good value. Let's see. I think you mentioned, I keep closing out my window, so give me a second. You said, I'm a contender on Dynasty Daddy, but have no RBs besides Chase Brown, really. I mean, I think this is a good situation, right? If you're a contender and you're a serious contender, I mean, go see what you can get. I mean, I almost was able to get like Derrick Henry for that 205. So I would definitely have conversations and see what older players that produce like insane, like maybe you can get a Kamara or someone like that. Sure, they're a little bit older. They're not exciting, but sometimes you don't need people to be a dynasty asset, right? The way I like to build teams is you have your insulation pieces, and then you have your pieces that smash fantasy point wise. I don't need every player to be shiny and valued on Keep Trade Cut or ADP Daddy or wherever. Like, I need all the players to score, and then the ones that are valued highly to also hold their value and be young. So yeah, I mean, if I'm a contender, I'm certainly looking to shop that pick around, just because I want to win. I'm sorry. Sometimes I want to win. I don't always have to be rank 1 on Dynasty Daddy if I'm rank 1 at the end of the season. Rice is innocent. It was his twin brother. Yes, let's go with that. I will say, as someone that has a evil Jeremy in the chat sometimes, yes, I also have an evil twin brother. Um, let's see. So no problems. You have law enforcement. Cam Scadaboo is the next Marshawn Lynch. I could see it. I mean, he's kind of like that. I don't know. It's just like bounces off people, like kind of just like a kind of rugby like type of running style. So I don't think he'll be bad. I think he's in a great spot. I think he will certainly have a workload. But if I'm a contender and I'm like, I don't really need him to be something special. I already got the special players on my team. I don't mind just getting a locked-in guy. And I do think Dante, great point. Go get CMC. I mean, CMC is another great one. CMC, Kamara, get an old guy or try. I'm a Chuba guy. I think Chuba is a great value as well. Let's see. So the fact they were Panthers played no part in that deal. Yes, Sean. I did have to check my bias at the door there, but I mean, I do think. Dare I say I'm believing. There's 7 wild card teams. Okay, I think the Panthers can make it. Check on me like week 6, and we'll see how I'm feeling. Let me double check. I believe we may be having an extra stream. Okay, I don't know if Delta Echo Whiskey, if you are still here, I don't know if you provided a league ID. If you missed the stream, or if you don't post by the end of the stream, feel free to reach out to me. I can answer that question. Let's see. Jordica, the guy. Thank you for joining the Demons League. I want to talk about that in a little bit. Kind of go through give a little draft recap of one of the first. I think there's two Dynasty Daddy leagues floating out there, but we'll definitely be kicking off more of those. But he said my super team is ranked 12th on Dynasty Daddy after winning the league last year. Do you mean in overall value or in starter value? I'll be surprised. Well, I guess starter value, super team. So the super team ranking is based on starter value. But if you're ranked 12 in overall value, that probably just means you have a bunch of older players that are crushing it and have high ADP, because the contender tiers are all based on current season outlook, whereas overall rank, QB rank, all those other ranks are based on your dynasty trade value of the selected fantasy market. Let's see. I traded away CMC for the pick that I drafted Hunter with. Henry, if you could mention the pick, I'm curious. I mean, we saw Hunter go with the 107 earlier, so I need a little bit of a sanity check here on what is going on with Hunter. I will say I did pick up my first share of Hunter as well, and I can maybe show off my portfolio later, because I did. I've been in the lab making some features on the portfolio tool to make it a lot cooler. Let's see. Sean, I know. You're just messing. You're a scat truth or true. I love scat. I literally just posted a video on this YouTube channel talking about how Cam Scadaboo is one of the best values in that range. But to me, I was sitting there and I was looking at my team and I was like, I have RJ Harvey. I have, who else was it? I have one guy that was just like locked in. I forgot what it was. I had one locked in guy. I had RJ Harvey, and I was like, do I really want to be rolling out Cam Scadaboo and trusting him, or do I just want to get a Chuba guy? So to me, like, I think it's a completely fair deal, but to me, I'm like, can I just have the security of a guy that I know is going to actually be the day one starter? Might not always be good process, but when I'm just trying to round out some sort of a roster, if the value's there, I'll take it. Dante, with the Panthers and Patriots, will surprise people this year. I think the Patriots, I could definitely see. I mean, they have, I feel like they have a weird culture at this point, because they still have like the ghost of Bill Belichick, minus his girlfriend there, where it's like a bunch of his old coaching staff. But I am a big variable guy. He always can outperform. And I do think guys like Henderson and, I mean, I know people are Kyle Williams truthers. I'm not going to talk too much about Kyle Williams. I don't know a ton about him, but you know, I do think they will outperform what people expect. I think the Panthers are sneakily good. If we can fix our defense, right? If we can make our defense not 30th and maybe like 19th, I think that would be amazing because our offense should be good. I mean, we had a top 10 offensive line last year, another year working together. Chuba's looking good. We just got Tet. Bryce Young looked phenomenal the second half of the year. And we had really steep competition. We played the Eagles, we played the Chiefs, and both those games, like, he was making big time throws. So having some guys that aren't Leggett with a broken wrist dropping everything, hopefully Tet hits. I mean, I just want meaningful football. It's been since like 2018. I can tell you 2018. I think it was Monday Night Football. Panthers went to the Steelers. We were 6-2. Cam Newton was in the MVP conversation. I will jump in front of a bus for Cam Newton. He is my favorite player. And TJ Watt goes right into his shoulder. And man, nothing was more deflating than that. That was boom. Like that, I still am scarred. It's one of those things. Like I was in like high school when the Panthers got Cam and Kuechly, and I feel like I grew up with that team, and just to watch them all grow old and retire made me all sad. Let's see, Pat and I. These are some of my friends, Pat and Connor. Congrats on your b-ball game. You dropped 100. They call themselves the Bench Boys, so we'll give a shout out to the Bench Boys. Yeah, I will say Adam Thielen. Dante, that's a great point. Adam Thielen is again a sneaky value. Get him for a third, a fourth. He's probably going to be low-end wide receiver too. He's always, as long as he's healthy, he's still performing at a pretty high level, even if he's lost a little bit of a step. So, okay, this is back to the question about your team being a super team but being ranked 12th. You said you're ranked 12th overall. I'll post a screenshot in live stream ask. Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that. But yeah, this is going to be one of those teams that's just a bunch of old guys that smash every year. And that's why like people that only think about dynasty value miss out on the fact that, wait a minute, like Aaron Jones was like RB12, right? Like you want to miss out on, like, it's like, hey, do you want to buy, it's like, do you want to buy this, like this stock that will, give you $5 back, or do you want that's $500, or do you want to buy one that's $100 that gives you $5 back? It's like, I'd rather just get the cheaper one sometimes. Like, not everything needs to be a long-term play. Let's see. This was okay. Henry Anderson said he got Hunter at the 105. I did as well. Maybe the Jags. The slow reaction time thing. Maybe that will be a 10,000 sub special. I will do one of the reaction tests, wherever one of those is. But maybe that video scared people away because I also got Hunter at the 105. But yeah, I mean, I think that's great value. 105. And that's why I think, to me personally, the 105 is like the best spot to be, because you're below the drop off of first round running backs. So sometimes you can get a Hampton if people are crazy. You have 2 first-round wide receivers, high-end first-round wide receivers that can fall, or you have the number 1 overall pick that can fall. And that's why if I'm a team that doesn't have a locked-in QB2, 105 is where I want to be. Let's see. I traded the 111 before the draft for CMC as a contender. Yeah, and I think that's about fair asking price. I'm surprised CMC still holds as much value. I thought you'd be a little bit lower to like kind of where Alvin Kamara is, but it just goes to show you Christian McCaffrey is a absolute freak. And I think too, like, people forget how good he was. Not to do like the cliche, but everyone's talking about Saquon this year. If you look at McCaffrey pre-Achilles drama of last year, I mean, he put up a year that was insane. So if he can just get back, even if his usage isn't as much, I think that's a steal. Again, I mean, those are points. If you're a contender, it's okay to sometimes say, I'm going to go for the points. I would caution yourself for going too much in, right? I think Dynasty, and this is kind of a theory I'm working on, but I think Dynasty is kind of a game of not making commitment, right? Do I have to go all in to really be a champion? I don't think I do. I do need to make smart moves sometimes and be somewhat in, but I don't need to always be all in when I'm making trades like that. So I'm a big fan of that move for you. Let me double check. I think you said you posted it in the Discord, right? Let me double check for you right here. Okay, I will full screen this and we will jump into the drama. This is just one of those like cool teams to look at type of things. I don't know if I have. Do I have stream mode on? I don't want to like accidentally share stuff that people don't want to see. Okay, yeah, here we go. Boom. Yeah, so this is a team, right? It's a super team, but the least valuable team. I've never seen something like this. But again, what you see is like it's all the high end value is kind of consolidated within Jamar Chase and Patrick Mahomes. Kyler Murray, very underrated, but every year low end QB1, right? I mean that's what he's going to do. And then Bucky. I mean, to be honest, I thought this team would be a little bit more crusty for considering it's 12th. But I think probably a lot of it is you don't have any 26 firsts. Jonnu is super underrated, so I'm a big fan of him. But yeah, I mean, this is honestly not even a bad team. I mean, this is like I'm curious to see. I imagine it's fairly close with 11 and so. Like I'm sure the values are somewhat close because this isn't as desperate as I thought it would be. But I think a lot of it comes from Tyreek Hill, Sutton, Adams crushing it, being older, not really having that elite dynasty value that everyone likes, everyone wants to have. But yeah, thank you for showing that. Let me jump back to the chat. Let's get back to it. Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. What do you think of Bashal Tutin and his blazing speed? Can he overtake ETN and Tank? So I think he will be more relevant as the season goes on. Like I think we'll probably start off as ETN Tank. I think realistically he's probably a second half of the year type of kind of like Bucky, where it's like, oh well, you have White and I forgot who else they had. I mean, I know they have Sean Tucker, but it was kind of like, okay, do you have these two guys that like, do you really think Bucky can outcompete him? I know this is a comparison everyone makes. I don't think he'll technically have a season like Bucky, but I do think he will have an impact somewhat similar of like being that change of pace guy, being that big play home run hitter guy that ETN kind of was in the beginning. Tank is more of like a grinder type of back. So I imagine Tank will still have a role, but ETN will be phased out, especially since he's on the last year of the contract. So he's one of my favorite guys. And the recent video I put out, I also kind of broke down my thoughts on him. But I do think he's one of my favorite guys in kind of that late second-ish range. Yeah, again, Dante, like you said, if CMC's healthy, he's going to crush. We got a special message. Jeremy, please, do you think UNC will be good this year? I will say I thought they would be good until all this drama has come out. And I'm like, I think Bill's lost his fastball. I think he's gone. I think it's going to be a kind of a mess just because I'm not used to seeing Bill Belichick. Like, Bill Belichick is always like, do your job. This is your role, all this stuff. The fact that it's been a complete mess just shows me that he's kind of like just phoning it in, it feels like. Let's get Dab a Dubby talking about Tutin. Definitely think Tutin is worth a shot. New staff and coaches have to see something. Hopefully it's the Bucky vision Cohen has last year. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the comparison everyone makes, and I think it's an apt comparison here. Just because Bucky was kind of a similar profile. Late round pick, day 3 pick, but kind of a exciting athletic profile and a good offense. Had 2 guys in front of him, but not 2 locked-in guys. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think he's one of my favorite late-round picks. Here we go. Henry. Scout was a great value for me at the 207. Just hate the Giants and need an RB. I can wait. Oh, I can start week 1. Have Ford, Dobbins, Warren, and Rashad White. All those guys lost their roles. I will say I do agree. It's not ideal, but I do think Warren and White are lazy starters, right? Do I need a guy that, like, do I need to overpay for someone just to feel good? No. I could probably just start Rachaad White. He's still scored like 8-9 points a week, even with Bucky going crazy. So I do think White and Warren, I doubt Caleb Johnson's going to come in and just demand 90% of usage. Like I'm sure Warren will still have a role. Okay, talk about a believer. I don't know if Sean L is taking him at 9, but Scat went at 9 in a rookie draft. Yeah, highest I've seen is the 112. Both of those are crazy. That is something I've never seen is Scat going that high. I mean, that's got to be over like Harvey and all these other guys. I mean, I'm not taking a 4th round back that high. Okay. Also, happy to join the Demons League. None of my teams have ever been rebuilt, so I want to try. It's a hell of a rebuild job. Yeah, no, I appreciate y'all joining. I mean, I remember when you're working on the site, you know, there's a lot of things going on. I just remember checking that league and I'm like, wait, there's like 5 orphans in here all of a sudden. And I knew some didn't have 1st round picks. So I was worried about getting that league filled. So I'm excited about that. Rebuilds are fun. Rebuilds are a lot of fun. You know, I've had my fair share of rebuilds, but it makes you love the game. It makes you love the value game. It makes you think about every single play, every single storyline, every single injury. How can I use this to my advantage to get my team going in the right direction? So it's really fun. Let's see. Dobbins is going to be picked up by somebody. Probably stuck in the committee at this point. Yeah, I mean, I think Dobbins is kind of buried at this point. I think it's kind of a musical chairs. I remember listening to a bunch of podcasts and stuff, and everyone was like, it's going to be, you know, there's so many guys that need contracts, and there's so many guys coming into the league that have talent, and it's going to be one of those. You know, that's why you have like Javonte Williams just taking any contract he kind of can get, because it's like, I'm just going to take a prove it deal because so much talent's coming in the league. I need to make sure I actually have a role where I can show out. I do think Dobbins at the Cowboys would have been good. I mean, I think a lot of players at the Cowboys would have been good, to be honest. I was kind of hoping for like a day 2, like a Henderson or something like that. That would have been really exciting. Henry said, I am still holding out hope for the Bears to pick up Dobbins. As a Cowboys fan, I love for him to pick up, but the Cowboys seem to be unwilling to pay RB more than $3 million a year. Yeah, I thought Cowboys would have learned their lesson last year, but I guess Dowdle kind of did better. I'm surprised they didn't kind of re-sign him. I thought Dowdle did good enough to deserve a re-sign. But yeah, I don't really know what they're doing there. I mean, Jadon Blue isn't my favorite guy that could have landed there. There's a lot of guys I'd rather have. But it is a really good situation. There's a lot of opportunities there at the Cowboys situation. And I mean, for the Bears, I kind of don't think Swift is washed. I feel like people are a little too low on Swift. I thought last year he put up a lot of good weeks. He's obviously not like a league breaker or anything that's like going to, like open your mind to like a new experience or anything crazy. But I think he's a guy that you're going to look up and be like, oh, wow, he's RB15. That's not bad. And you can get him for fairly cheap. So to me, I'm decently confident that Swift is someone he's like one of those throw-ins where it's like, sure, I'll take Swift if it means I can have a guy that I don't have to worry if he loses value because no one really values him right now, but he's probably going to be a relevant running back. Here we go. We got a trade from Bertz McGee. 12-team Superflex, full PPR, start 11. Would you rather have Caleb Johnson, which is the 112, or a 26 late first? The owner is shopping the 112. That is a good question. I will say in a 12-team start 11, it's a little bit deeper. So you really kind of want to get as many high-quality darts. I do like Caleb Johnson. To me, it probably talks about window, right? Is my team more of a rebuilder in this situation? I would probably try to just take a future pick and say maybe this late pick becomes the 109 instead of the 112. And, like I end up with a more desirable player, especially on a rebuild. Running backs don't fit the window as much. So that would be the direction I'm looking in. If I'm a contender, I don't know. Like, it's hard without the plus. But if I'm like one running back away from having a competent team, I'm probably saying, like I maybe would want like a little bit more to move off of a Caleb Johnson here. Let's see. Droideka. I hope I'm saying that right. Droideka, the guy. Problem with Swift is mostly that BJ already shipped him off once. That is true. He did get shipped off once. I mean, I could see it. I could see him not, getting in the doghouse again or whatever. But the fact that they had the opportunity to take a running back in one of the most loaded running back classes and they didn't, tells me that they feel at least somewhat good about Swift. And it could also been not, it could have not just been Ben Johnson's decision. There could have been other factors involved there. Deep roster question. Would you rather have players like Dortch, Gabe Davis, Jalen Naylor, who cannot talk, or Tolbert, geez, I cannot talk, or deep rookies like Arian Smith, Khalil Munnings, Mafa, M. Evans, the tight end. Oh yeah, Mitchell Evans for the Panthers. Shout outs. They are the only drafted rookies left. Ooh, okay. I think honestly, like in this range, I'd probably rather have guys like a Naylor or Davis or Dortch. I just feel like they probably have a higher chance of finding a spot in a relevant role. That being said, if I have a taxi squad, obviously I don't mind rostering these guys. I imagine it's a deeper league, so probably all the good guys are rostered. But yeah, I mean, you can probably miss me with most of these rookies. I'd probably rather take. I know Naylor put up a bunch of decent weeks last season, so I probably look to find, is there any sort of wide receiver 3 like a Dortch or a Naylor, or any sort of running back that's like somewhat buried but in kind of a weird convoluted backfield that might not be a rookie that I could take a swing on instead. Let's see. We got some more Swift conversation. Dare I say he may be the player of the night. Maybe the player of the night. I don't think Swift is cooked, but I feel like Ben Johnson isn't head over heels for him. I weirdly feel like I'm always bad at saying his name. Munganyai. I need to just put the earphones in and listen to that. I will have a surprising amount of responsibility before too long. I could see him getting some usage. And I agree with you. I don't think Swift is like a long-term option, but I also feel like he's kind of how people like viewed Aaron Jones a bit last year, where everyone's like, eh. But in theory, Swift should be in a very good offense with a bunch of weapons. It should be the lead running back, so he should have a pretty decent workload with a better offensive line, a better bunch of weapons, and an offensive-minded coach. So to me, I feel like the situation kind of outweighs the fact that Swift is kind of this like undervalued, or not undervalued, but devalued player that people are kind of just bored of at this point. Let's see. Henry said he also has Chase Brown. You traded Leggett away for Pollard straight up. That's a good deal. I like Pollard more than Leggett. Tried to make the same trade for Swift, by the way. Shout outs. Keep the Swift conversation going. Have the best wide receiver room in the league. So it's okay. Yeah. I mean, if you have the best wide receiver room in the league, then Leggett is like all the way at the bottom. Yeah. I would have done that trade a million times. Pollard is another one of those guys where it's like, wait a minute, is he RB1 of an offense? And he's uninspiring, but he's going to still probably be like, oh, wow, he was RB 14. That's cool. He's going to put up RB 5 weeks, and you're going to be like, man, I could have got him for free. Yeah, if you're worried about the Ben Johnson thing, then buy. Honestly, Roschon Johnson, underrated pick as well. And people aren't talking about him, but new coaches can find different players that they like. In my league, the Swift owner picked up Kyle Munganyai. I'm so bad at saying it, as first waiver, and then to get both of them. But he seems to believe that if Swift is out of favor, Kyle will increase in value. I agree. No, I mean, I agree. I think Roschon is someone that people also need to consider because, like, Roschon is not someone that was in that situation. He kind of fell out of favor relatively quickly the other time. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of those weird situations, but I feel like Swift has just got it locked up, to be honest. I'm not too concerned about a lot of other things really happening. Let's see. I think the excitement, everyone was on the edge of their seat waiting for this Delta Whiskey roster. And we finally got it. So let's pull it up. We will take a look at his roster real quick and give him some advice on stream. Let me pull up my chat window so I can close out of that. There we go. We'll do it live. Yeah, it's kind of a behemoth, but slow. I could see goal line work. Yeah, I mean, he could be a decent change of pace. I doubt he's going to be someone that takes over a ton of the work. I could see him being involved. I don't think he's going to be. Ooh, wow. Ooh, I'm glad I'm doing a little bit better. I assume that's Adam from BDGE. I know he does their content there, but also from South Harmon. Yeah, something I'm bad at is like names, and I know if I'm going to start doing live streams and reading out names and reading out usernames of chats and all this stuff, I need to get on my pronunciation game. Anyway, let's see what Delta Echo Whiskey said. Let's see. 10 team start 10, powered by Dynasty Daddy. Okay, so I guess I don't know if he added any additional context here. This is some quality radio right now. But let me pull up the. Okay, he just said where to go from here. So we look at this. Obviously, this is a big rebuilder, but I mean, you have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 first round picks. I mean, I think you're doing it right. I mean, to me, I think you're doing this thing pretty right, all things considered. Really what I would be trying to do is saying, okay, I have my shots on like a Golden, a McMillan, a Garrett Wilson, but I'm going to continue to try to re-roll players, right? It is a shallow league, right? 12 team start 9, not super shallow. I thought you said 10 team. But in general, I'm just going to try to say, what are players of value? Can I roster every single quarterback with a pulse? And honestly, we'll do keep trade cut, just because they value a lot of these lower players. But any quarterback that's one injury away, I want to roster. Any running back one injury away, I want to roster. I want to make sure that if anyone gets injured, they have to come to me and trade me a third, trade me a second, like do a third, second swap and get a backup running back. But really, I mean, I think this is one of those teams where you just got to say, man, I kind of have to wait, right? I don't think you have an easy answer now. But realistically, you're probably looking at a bunch of first-round picks. Even if they're late, you're going to have your pick, and you're going to have like 4 late picks or mid to late picks. And then all of a sudden, you'll look at your team, and you'll have Tet, you'll have Garrett Wilson, you'll have Matthew Golden, you'll have a bunch of whatever new players are coming on. If anything, I would potentially look to sell Tua mid-season to a team that is QB desperate and like a contender up here. There's probably like this team or something. They, Geno goes down or something. They're probably going to be like, oh man, I need a quarterback. Can you go, get some sort of pick or future value, something that fits your window a little bit better. Because right now I'm not really looking at this team saying it's going to contend. So that would be kind of my approach, is like, how do I position myself to be needed by contenders midseason? But I appreciate the comments, and sorry about the delay getting it all together. Let's see. I've seen a ton of Pat Bryant content lately. YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Reddit, etc. Is the hype train running somewhat out of control? Everyone hoping next Puka type beat, or is he legit? Man, I'll tell you straight up. I think Puka is a special case. Hot take here. Puka is a special case. But I mean, I will say Puka came in. Everyone knew Puka was a phenomenal prospect from the scouting side, but his injuries were a big concern. And he landed in a spot where they hyper-target players like no other. To me, I'm not buying as much into a Pat Bryant. I think Pat Bryant could be usable. I think he could be a decent player, but I don't think he's going to be Puka. I don't think he's going to be someone that cracks wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 dynasty type prices. Could he be someone that people are like, hey, he's sneaky valuable? Sure. I think he could be. Could he be kind of a flex option? Sure. That's kind of what I would say right now. But I'm not saying he's a Puka. And if anyone is, go out and say, hey, I'll trade me a first for Pat Bryant. Like I do think he does have talent. He's in a good spot. Sean Payton offenses are good, but I doubt he'll have the targets It's not free either. I mean, you got Evan Ingram there, you got Sutton, you got my guy RJ Harvey. So there's things there. I'm not 100% sold that Pat Bryant is a guy that's going to break all these records. Ooh, Dante with an interesting question. Who do you think is the steal of the rookie draft at their current ADP? That is a good question. Let's get a little funky. I'll make a little draft board for us so we can have a visual, because I'm a visual guy. Here we go. This is just using the league that's pulled in here, so don't just ignore the picks or the traded picks and all that. Really, right now, I feel like the best value, and I will say I feel like the best value is probably, I think the 105 is just the most interesting pick to me personally. Just I feel like no matter what, you're going to get like one of the best players there. And I do know the Henderson hype is bumping him up some. It's probably because I saw those reports of him being a 3-down back and all these things. But really, to me, the top 5 is just clean. You get a top 10 wide receiver, you get a first round running back, or you get the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, ADP wise, that's not what you're asking. I will say, I think the oh man, this is kind of hard because I kind of feel like a lot of players are properly valued. I feel like Jaden Blue is probably needs to be bumped up a little bit higher than people want to admit. Just because he landed in a spot where the competition is Javonte Williams on a backup running back salary. So to me, I'm like, I know Blue's probably going to have a decent opportunity. I would put him kind of up here in like this 211 range. I think realistically that's where he would be. I think Judkins is someone is also like, this is a hard range for me. This like Judkins Henderson range. Because to me, I don't see a big difference between Judkins, Henderson, and like Igbuka type. I think they're kind of all similar types of bets to me. I still think probably my steal would probably be like Dart or RJ Harvey. I think that those are guys I feel like people just like to talk themselves out of. But let me see what the chat's saying. Also, who would you say is your best sleeper rookie waiver wire pickup? I love any running back, honestly. Anyone can talk anyone to into those guys. But I mean, Taj Brooks, I love a Woody Marks. I think that's probably I'm gonna be king of Woody Marks land, because to me, Mixon has been banged up, and they clearly don't like Dameon Pierce. Woody Marks is someone that's just landing in a great spot for me. I personally think. And Giddy, yeah, JD Giddens? DJ Giddens. I was like, it's not JD. DJ Giddens. Yeah, I'm a big DJ Giddens. I think too, I remember I was listening to JJ Zacharyason's pod a while ago, and he was saying his model, which he talks about, he was like talking about how it spit out that JD Giddens or DJ Giddens, not DJ Giddens was like in the same tier or like grouped with like Todd Gurley, Barkley, and some other crazy player. And he's like, obviously, they're different players, but he's saying that, he's obviously has a ton of, a very well-rounded profile. So I'm excited for that situation. Jonathan Taylor's been a little bit uninspiring, so I hope we see a little bit of DJ Giddens, but it's hard to outshine Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, everyone wants to have Jonathan Taylor like smash every year, but I don't mean Jonathan Taylor's bad. Don't take me out of context there. Yes, I am a visual guy. Yeah, Pat Bryant has interesting stride, kind of like a slide run. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert at wide receiver scouting by any means. I do think he'll have a role, but it's just hard betting on those late round wide receivers. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you see him get the Puka usage for like week 1, week 2, then go buy him. Right? I'm not going to go pay a premium, because if he comes out week 1, week 2, week 3, and he's just nothing, he's 3 targets, I'm like, I've seen a million of these stories of this wide receiver is going to take over. I don't really want to fall for it again. Ooh, that's a good one, Sean. Ollie Gordon at the 4-1. That is a pretty good steal, because I do think, who's your backup? Jalen Wright? Jalen Wright's kind of just an A-chain plug and play. So they don't really have that kind of hammer type of back. Ollie Gordon, he really disappointed, man. He really disappointed his senior or his I don't know if it was like redshirt senior year or whatever, but his last year of college, I know he disappointed a lot of people. So, but I do like that landing spot. People are kind of sleeping on him a little bit. Oh, gosh, Shadur's the ultimate wild card. Obviously, I do think he will start, and you can probably flip him for a second. I don't know how many people are going to want to buy into it, though. I just feel like that situation's so bad. I kind of wish he just went, like, he fell so far. I was like, when does, like, Sean McVay just take Shadur Sanders or something? Like, when does, like, just a good team take him and give him a solid organization to kind of, get him in a good spot? That's kind of what I was hoping for. Let's see. What do you think about Jaden Higgins? Should be plenty of targets to go around at Texas. I like him. I do think he's a tad bit redundant with Nico Collins. So I'm curious to see how they use both of those players in that offense. And that's why I think Jalen Noel's a little bit exciting, because he kind of fits a different role in that offense. But I do think both of them will be great. The hardest part to me is kind of like that old meme when it's like Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase got drafted. And it was like quarterback throws with the offensive line, and it's like quarterback without the offensive line, and it's like throws in the air and incomplete pass. That's what I'm worried about here. I'm just really worried about the Houston Texans offensive line, because I know they got rid of like Tunsil, and I just don't know what they're going to do. It was already kind of bad last year. It's just getting worse. So I do like Jaden Higgins, and you can definitely see that they like him as well, because they invested a lot of money into him, and they picked him pretty high. So I do think he will certainly have a significant role in that offense. I agree with you, Sean. I'll pull up the draft board again. To me, I am so surprised. I'm more of an RJ Harvey guy over Caleb Johnson. That being said, I mean, we're splitting hairs. It's like 200 points on Keep Trade Cut. We can look at the actual ADP from rookie drafts here. But it looks like Caleb Johnson, on average, based on ADP, is going at the 110, 111-ish range. RJ Harvey, I will say I did get RJ Harvey at the 201, which I thought was a really good steal. And like here is usually 111. So it's usually back-to-back, it looks like, which makes you question these tight ends, right? Where are these tight ends going? And these also 111, 112 range. But it's interesting. To me, it's so funny that we have a cluster of high-end, like, top draft capital tight ends. Yeah, it's just weird that we have two. I feel like it devalues it, because it's like, why would I take one? Like, I can just take the second one. But it's kind of funny. Ooh, we got a Jerry Jeudy question. Let's get to it. Jeudy is turning 27, and I don't have faith in that QB room. I'm rebuilding. I was thinking about trading him just before week 1. Does that make sense, or is there a wait until there's more urgency? He's someone I would probably just be shopping, kind of always. I don't think he's going to have a major bump in value, because I don't think that offense is going to be that good. I think realistically the best time to sell him was last year when Winston was going crazy with him. But yeah, I mean, I would say, like, can I get a decent deal? Sure, I'd take it right now. I don't think he's a player like a Barkley type, or a Kamara or something where people are going to be like, I need that Jerry Jeudy. It's just kind of like, whatever. Can I get some value? If not, maybe I just wait until a team is needy. But yeah, I mean, it's a good question. He's kind of one like, man, what a fall off. You remember when he was like so hyped? That's crazy. Let's see. I think Shadur went undrafted in a 4-round draft. Man, if only there was a 5th round, just like the NFL, someone would have picked him. Yeah, that is crazy. Like Sean said, I mean, that's kind of crazy. To me, the hype is just too high. The hype is too high just to ignore him. Someone is got to take him, right? That's just the realistic part of the situation. Someone's got to take him, and then the second he starts, someone's going to be like, oh man, Shadur Sanders is here. Mungungyai. Is that right? No. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Woody Marks. I told you I'm planting the flag. There's one thing I know is if you want to make it in fantasy football content, you got to be irrational about a player, and that player is going to be Woody Marks. That is the player that I'm taking over anybody. No, but I mean, to me, they're kind of the same bets. to be honest. I just think it's a less messy situation with Woody Marks. I think he has a good role, good complement to Mixon, and Mixon's also much older than Swift. Let's see. Is it stupid for me to have Isaiah Bond on my taxi? I could drop him and pick up Javon Baker or Vele and then put Woody Marks or Jordan James in my taxi. What's your Isaiah Bond legal analysis? Well, I'm still waiting on that law degree, but personally, I would say, I would definitely rather have a Woody Marks. As I said, Woody Marks over everyone. But I would rather just have Woody Marks or Jordan James on a taxi, just because running backs and wide receivers in that range, running backs have a much higher chance of hitting. If you look at last year's draft, the previous drafts, any draft, if there's third, fourth, or fifth round pick, you probably had some weeks where people were trading for a running back or using that running back in those later round picks. So for me, just stash those late round guys, especially over Isaiah Bond, who just has a lot going on. It's just messy. I do like a Vele, though. If you're going to pick up a guy, pick up a Vele as well, and stash that Woody Marks. Sup, Kyle? What's up, Dynasty Daddy? Saw you on the Domains YouTube last night. Yeah, just checking in. I know that they did, I will say the flock guys. They put on. Every time I go on, they're live streaming. They're grinding rosters. So I definitely respect the hustle there. If only had a second round pick, but would have used a fourth on him. Yeah, honestly, a fourth round pick for is crazy. So Kyle is asking us a trade question. In a rebuild, you got the 107 and Ridley for the 110 and a future first. I have the 1.5 and the 109 as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking that, right? I moved back 3 spots. Here's a cool tool. Who doesn't love Dynasty Daddy? Let's jump in to this real quick. If you go to the draft page, you can toggle tiers. This will group players based on their value, and you can kind of get an idea of where you want to move. If I'm moving from the 1.7 to the 110, and I pick up a future first for Calvin Ridley, which if you watch my wide receiver Cliff video, you know he's probably not got a great career left in him from a fantasy football perspective. Yeah, I mean, you're staying within the same tier. To me, that's great. Anytime I can pick up an extra first too, I'm just excited. That's one where you go and get an extra cookie from the pantry because you know you did something good. Oh yeah, and by the way, don't forget to promote your team analysis. Thank you, Kyle. Yes, I do have roster reviews. I can show. You can find them on the site if you go to this more section. And you got where is it? Roster review here. It will take you. It's $50, but it's like a 20-ish minute video breaking down your league, your war, all your questions, diving into everything about your league. So I try to make those very in depth. Turnaround time is a little bit, it's like a week or two right now, just because I have so many due to the draft. The hot times are beginning of the season and draft season. That's when everyone wants them. So if you don't really care about being around the hot time, I'd recommend doing it in just like a random week in June, because I don't have a ton going on from a roster review perspective. But I appreciate the plug. Kyle's keeping me honest to make sure I keep the lights on here. Let's see. We got some more RJ Harvey talk. RJ Harvey went at pick number 6 in our draft ahead of Caleb. That's awesome. I mean, I probably wouldn't take him 6, just because I feel like maybe Henderson. Maybe it's a 1 QB. If it's a 1 QB, I guess that makes sense. I think I took him at 7. That's probably the highest I've taken him. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big Harvey guy. Yeah, 6 is fault. Yeah, I was curious if it's the 1 QB Henry. I was agreeing with that. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it was a 1 QB. That makes sense. So I assume Harvey went over Judkins, which I'm catching up on the chat. I'm late to the group chat. Judkins slipped to 8. Let's see. This is a follow-up on the waiver wire question that we talked about Isaiah Bond. Well, I already have Marks and James on my active roster. I'd have to move one of them to taxi if I was to drop. Yeah, I mean, I would just move them. Who would I move? I feel like I would move James most likely. I feel like the 49ers situation is a little bit more cloudy. It really just, that whole situation is all on, does Christian McCaffrey get injured? And then what's his name? Garendo doesn't like take over everything, which is possible. But Woody Marks is literally like one injury away from being a significant role player there. So I think Marks has a better path to being relevant, if that's to say the least. Let's see. Let's get a little fun with it. I think I've caught up with most of chat currently. So again, if you have any trade questions, post them in there. We can keep chatting all night. We're going all night long. But I did want to kind of talk about the Dynasty Daddy draft that we've been doing, and we're gonna be running more of these as well. But just kind of talk over some of the strategies and moves I made, because I was a busy bee with a lot of my trades, so I thought it would be kind of cool to just talk through some of them in my thought process. And maybe I'm being dumb. Maybe I am making bad moves, but it'd be kind of fun to just workshop it, I guess. But yeah, here's the draft. I wanted to just show Jackson Dart went here. But basically what happened, this is a little bit clunky. Unfortunately, Dynasty Daddy, for some reason, isn't pulling live drafts. I need to fix that. So we got a bug. But in Demon Time, I had multiple. Okay, this is a mess right now. Okay, this is a mess. But I had multiple first-round picks. And this was the league where I traded for, here's that one trade I mentioned. Trading that mid-second, picking up a Chuba. I also just threw in a random fourth I don't really care about. Again, I can lock up a long-term starter. And when I'm looking at my team, right, I had Bucky. That was the player. I had Bucky. I had nobody. And I took RJ Harvey at the 210 or the 201. And I took Travis Hunter at the 105. So I was like, I don't really necessarily want to have RJ Harvey be my guy. I'd rather have another guy that I can, bounce off of if it takes a few weeks to ramp up for RJ Harvey. But we were balling in this league. I mean, there was constant trades. But here's one. I think this was a trade that I was interested in, because this is the trade that ultimately got me Chuba as well. Whereas I had the 104. Someone wanted to move up. And that's why I was like, the 105 is such a good spot for me, because if you look at this team also needs a quarterback, right? Right? This team also needs a quarterback, and Anthony Richardson's kind of this wild card case. But I was also like, I can risk it I'll move back a spot, not have to pick between Cam Ward or Travis Hunter, and then just let that fall to me. And that's why I'm saying, if you're a team that doesn't have a QB2, 105 is a perfect spot. Doesn't have a locked-in guy. Right? I'm like, I can roll with Anthony Richardson and not die, but I can also just coast a little bit and see how it goes. So that's one of the reasons I love landing in that range. We got Will in the house. Hopefully the work trip is going well. We miss you here at Stream HQ. And yes, unfortunately, I was balling. What can I say? I'm not a fraud. I was very happy with some of the deals. The worst part about making a deal on the clock, though, is I see the timer, and I know it's like an 8-hour timer. And I'm like, man, I've been holding up everyone for 4 hours, and they just want to pick. And I'm sitting here being like, can you toss in an extra fourth? I know these people are just like, this dude is annoying. But yeah. Let's see. What's the biggest, deepest league in your question mark? To me, those are the most fun. Would love to do a 16 team or so. The deeper, the better. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to do a really deep league. I think the deepest one I have currently is a 12-team start 12. And I can pull that up real quick, because this is one of the teams I'm very proud of. Because I did a 1-year retool, and I missed the playoffs 1 year. And then the second year on my coming up year, I know no one cares about my fantasy team, but I'm going to brag. Why is okay, there we go. It wasn't going to click. I'm going to brag. But this is my super deep league. And this is why in the deep leagues, I just loaded up on first. I was like, I don't care if they're late. I don't care if they're middle. I don't care if they're early. Give me all the first. I'm going to do a quick retool. I went from a top team that got third, got $50, right? Got my money back. Then I rebuilt, missed the playoffs, had all these picks, traded away Tyreek Hill, got fleeced in that deal. Made some deals that I'm not proud of, but then all of a sudden I just started making all these picks, and now in a deep league, it all pans out. You don't have to have the sexiest names in all these leagues, like Xavier Worthy, but just having anybody makes you a top team just out of the gate. So that's one thing I love about the deep leagues. It adds values to like a Metcalf, a Worthy, a Harvey, a Chuba. Like you just want to have a bunch of players. I realize I have a lot of this Harvey Chuba combo, so hopefully I don't get burnt alive by that. But we'll have to see there. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely be down, Chuck, to do like a deep league. I think that'd be a lot of fun, like a 16-team league. Okay, so we got Spock. Welcome to the Dynasty Daddy solo stream. Usually we have Will here, but Will is now in the chat for this week. Give Hampton plus Rice for Bucky plus AJ Brown. Okay, give me a second to process all these. This is a classic. Can you fit the whole team in the message, which I appreciate. 12-team Superflex PPR, 0.75 tight end premium. Start 10, 6-point passing touchdown. Lamar, Kyler, Bijan, Hampton, CMC, Alvin Kamara, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, Hunter, Rice, Tyreek Hill. Jeez, man. DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Ingram, or hold. You have Hampton and Rice and Bucky. I'm going to say hold here because I think Hampton's an upgrade to Bucky, and I think Rice is basically the same as A.J. Brown at this point because A.J. Brown is 28 years old, man, and people just don't want old guys. I think both A.J. Brown and Rice will crush fantasy points-wise, and you just get the age premium on that. And then Hampton's just so secure. I think you're kind of paying up for Bucky at this point. But, yeah, I would probably just hold. If that person really wants those guys, you could probably say, hey, maybe I toss in a second and you get back a first or something, right? This is the type of thing is like if they reached out to you for this deal, they probably want one of those players or at least both really badly. You might be able to get a little bit more out of them. Will said he would much rather be talking Dynasty than email, deployment, marketing. Yeah, maybe we'll have to do a email deployment marketing live stream here on the Dynasty Daddy channel. Is there any way we could see the contender player values on the site? It's tough to trade with contending teams without a useful chart for that. Yeah, so that is a good question. So let me bounce to the site. Here's an example. So sorry, before I have a million voice cracks. So there's a couple ways you can do it. So first, if you click this fantasy market dropdowns, you'll see the selected season rankings. This will show you the current ADP for each player and its positional ADP. And this is how the little star icons show up here. And that's also how the contender ranks and the starter rank is calculated. It's from these values. You can also change these. These are all the integrations we have. By default, it's average ADP, and then during the season, it's rest of season. So it updates as we go. But you can mess around with this and be like, oh, actually, my team's a contender now or whatever. So that's one way you can see it. They're not really trade values. For current season trade values, we do support redraft. And so like you can come in here and just toggle redraft. I'm a big fan of ADP Daddy redraft. That's, I think, the best, especially during the offseason. So I would come in here and say, okay, this is kind of what the expectations for these players are this season in terms of fantasy production. So that's how I would do it if you're doing current season kind of contender ranks that don't factor in dynasty value. And if you log into a redraft league too, it will default to those things. You need to do a HVV 36 by 13 best ball 3 copy. Oh man, that's one that breaks my site. I'll tell you that. You said I'm on the clock right now, and there's a whole strategy to 3 copies. No one wants to pick the first copy. Everyone tries to block you, knowing you have a copy. So you can't take a player. So they'll take another one in it. In the same tier. That's a really interesting idea. I mean, I've never played in a copy league. I know there's some sickos out there that enjoy some of the crazy formats, and I will have to wrestle with it when I have to integrate on my site. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting that it's similar to the tight end. It's the same thing when like I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's 2 tight ends that are early like early to mid first round picks. To me, they're like I'm just like I don't want to take the first one. It's kind of the same process there. Let's see. And you said 24 teams compete and 12 are relegated. Oh gosh, well man. Okay. Don't scare me like that, Big DS. But yeah, I remember. I think that was on the Destination Devi radio feed. I remember them talking about that league. But that's definitely a crazy fun format. I'm not a soccer guy. A lot of my friends are, but I do love the relegations. Like that is just such a cool, like if the NBA had relegation, the Hornets would be back in the NCAA. Like, like sometimes you just need to get rid of the bad teams. Let's see. We got another one. I feel like I'm in fantasy purgatory for a year plus since I drafted Igbuka, Golden, Burden, Kyle Williams. I will be the Zen master after this test of patience. Here's the thing. All you need is 2 of them to hit. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I got lucky. I think I love Igbuka currently because there's already a narrative for why he's not going to be, scoring as much. So you already got a way out. As long as he doesn't, get 100 targets and drop all of them or something, you'll be fine. Other guys, I'm all for running the narrative, right? If Golden does really well, Burden does really well, and you want to keep him, keep him. If you don't, play the narrative. Maybe you could sell them to a team. So I do think patience is important, but you also got to be willing to wheel and deal and play the narrative. That's the best part of Dynasty is a team gets hurt, I can go sell them a guy. Like that's my favorite part is like being like, oh, information has changed. I can now make moves off of that. I love that. I will say to Big Diaz talking about the fun formats. Yeah, I wish Sleeper would do that. You'll catch me dead before I'm on MFL. I do love Sleeper, but yeah, all those fun formats are unfortunately somewhat limited there. Can you rank these guys in orders? 12 teams super flex, 0.75 tight end premium. Shuck, Ferguson, Arrero, Neal. Okay. 0.75. My team above is my team. Okay, my team reference above the Hampton Rice question. In this range, I'm going to rank Shuck the highest. Just because he has the easiest path to being a starter. It's just like based on needs, super flex. I can tell me a story that Shuck is going to have some sort of value, so I'm going to take it. Give me some flexibility there. Next, we got in 0.75 tight end premium. I probably do Ferguson, Arrero, and then Neal, but it really depends on your team. And speaking of that, you mentioned your team. You have Ingram, and I think in a void, I would say, yes, you should go Ferguson or Arrow. But realistically, I probably just take Neal because I think Neal has a better chance of actually making an impact on my roster if Kamara goes down or things happen, right? Whereas if I look at Arrero, it's like, okay, well, I still have Andrews and Ingram. And even if both of them get hurt, is there not going to be someone on the waivers that's better? Like, to me, I think in a void, I would rather have those tight ends, but running back is probably going to be the 2 for me. Yeah, no, I do wish Sleeper kind of put a new, clean, updated some of their stuff, especially as Will says, the desktop platform. I know he's a desktop user. Dynasty Daddy platform when I don't know. That is a long in the future type of deal. Just because, as you said, Sleeper had a ton of VC funding back in the day, so it'd be a lot harder to put together a significant competitor. But could be a fun challenge. I've been looking into a pro relegation style of a league. Winner can only come out of the top league. What is HVV? I believe it stands for Heroes versus Villains or something like that. I don't remember. Heisman versus something. I don't know. But it's a league that the DD fantasy football community does. And I remember listening to when they first did, I think it was like 2 off seasons ago when they were like doing pods in June because I was a sicko and I was like, I'm going to listen to all these June podcasts, and they just were talking about strategy for this league over and over. And I was like, that's a fun format, but I was also like, I'm not in a crazy format like that. um, what makes you a super team versus contender? Also makes you fraud versus risky. That's a good question, Spock. So that depends on your distribution, right? So, for example, a super team is actually just a contender, but they're such a strong contender that no other teams are in the same bucket as them. And I'll kind of show you what I mean by that real quick. So if we pull up Dynasty Daddy here, we have a league, and it works the same with Trust the Process. But basically, we have 4 tiers. It's contender, frisky, fraud, and rebuilding. And then we have 2 conditional tiers, which are Trust the Process and Super Team. And when I take a league like this, I calculate this value, right? The starter rank value. And then what I do with all these starter ranks is I group them. And I say, which starter ranks are closer together, right? And all the teams that are close together in starter rank get bucketed together. It's called a bucket sort algorithm. So we bucket sort all of these. And then if there's a bucket, right, like this team has such low starter value that it's so, like, the starter value is so bad that no other team is in that bucket, that it gets a special terminology there. And so that's the same thing here with like frisky and fraud. Like fraud is a team, it's like on the come up, it's in the 3rd bucket out of the 4 buckets. That's kind of how I do the sorting there. But thanks for the question. Yeah, I love answering like the fun Dynasty Daddy, like how does this work questions. Girl, I found you the budget. I bought so much merch last year. Yes, we're working on the come up. I do appreciate. It's something I think it could be fun, a fun challenge of making my own platform. There's just so much that goes into it. And part of the reason I can do what I do is like I run pretty lean in terms of like hiring full-time software engineers like is expensive. So I just do it myself. But you know, so it's like I don't know how many people I can hire to actually build out a site, and I don't know if I would have the bandwidth to do it myself. On Dynasty Daddy, for the team starter rank, is it just that the dynasty value of the player, or is it just that the dynasty value of the players that would be in your starting lineup, or is it the different valuing system for redraft? Okay, yes. So this for the starter value, it uses the selected ADP, right? So it uses the selected rankings, what is called contender rankings. I want to figure out a better way of handling all of this, but during the off season, it uses average ADP across all these sources. You can select each of these, and it will update the rankings. But it's based on current season ADP, and it's of the starters, and that's what these stars are, right? These stars are saying this is your optimal starter based on ADP, and then during the season, it uses rest of season rankings. So that's how the starter rank and contender tiers are calculated. It's not related to trade value at all. So if you're like, oh, I don't like keep, trade, cut, and it says I'm a contender, well, those two things are separate. So you can use redraft values as well. So if you use redraft values, and you can also be like, well, this is a different way of kind of doing starter value and so much. But the issue with the general ranks is they calculate everything, right? They use all these sources, all of that. So it's not a one-for-one. But I do think starter rank has been one of the more consistent metrics that works well. And you can see it super easily on the playoff calculator. We have these startup ranks here, and that will show you all the team rankings. And I don't know if y'all know this. This is one of those, like, because I'm just in the weeds all the time. One of my favorite things is, oh dang, I don't think I actually updated the banner. But if you go into, like, during the season, there's these ELO adjusted ranks. And this is obviously today, and this season's over. But they update weekly. They update weekly with your team rankings based on who you've beaten and who your team's lost to. So it actually will update your team rank over time. So it can build out some really cool, like you can see teams rise really high. You can see teams fall. It's kind of a cool way. And then each week you can see how much each team gained based on their ELO score. So that's underrated feature. I spent a lot of time doing that, even though like it's not used by a ton of people. it's just something I wanted to see if it was possible and kind of cool. So that was me just geeking out there. What's a guy I got to edit to get you some Dynasty Daddy merch? We'll hook you up, Will. We need your t-shirt size, as Becca says. But let's see. Joe Milton, worth a roster spot in 1 QB. Another test of patience or roster clogger territory. Gut check. Woody. Joe Milton or Woody Marks. Don't gut check me on Woody Marks. You're not going to like the answer. But yeah, I mean, I think in the 1 QB, I'm probably still going Woody Marks, to be honest. Like, QBs just don't have a ton of value. It's similar to tight ends, right? When you start one tight end, there's just not a ton of flexibility that you have. So I will say probably just go Woody Marks, even though Joe Milton is fun. He can throw an orange far, right? As Connor says, he loves the Joe Milton talk. Yeah, heroes versus villains. That's what that league is called. Thank you, Henry. Yes, I love the ELO. I was like, that would be a really fun way of, just valuing teams. I don't think anyone does. And it's not the perfect system because, like, it uses, like, how bad a team beat a team based on fantasy points. And I know there's a lot of other factors. But, again, like, you don't need to overthink everything. I think it works pretty well for what it does. Let's see. We got a Will question. I can see the Will Bladder moment hasn't happened yet. Grade the Will trade I just made in my hotel bed. Okay, we got 12 by 11 Superflex. Not going to write out the format, but small PPC that favors RBs. Goff, Devontae, Connor, 2 seconds for Kyler, Kamara, Kirk Cousins. Ooh, here we go. At 28 first. I'm surprised we even have that anymore. Man. Goff, Devontae, Connor, 2 seconds. I think I'm on your side, Will. I mean, you get Kyler, you get Kamara, you get a future first. It is a little bit deeper league, so I think the team that obviously is getting all your old crap, right? The Connor and Devontae, 2 seconds, Goff, probably looking for more of a pushing into win type of situation. But this is one of those deals where you just get that future first. You have that flexibility. I assume you probably have other depth where you're not going to miss. Kamara cancels out Connor. So it's really just Goff, Devontae in 2 seconds for Kyler, Kirk, and a 28 first. And I'll probably do that. Even in 2 QBs, I'm going Woody Marks. I do think it's a lot closer, but this is the Woody Marks fan club here. Curtis. I don't know if you've messaged yet, so welcome. Thank you for chatting. I have Lawrence, Shroud, Murray, and May in a 10-team Superflex. Should I be looking to move one for a different position or just roll with 4? Okay, I will say in a 10-team Superflex, it's going to be a lot harder to move some of these quarterbacks because they're kind of like middle of the pack. But really what I would do is I would look at the bad teams and just see, or like the teams that are weak at quarterback and say, do you like any of these guys? And just take whatever one you can get value for. Because ultimately, they're all within the same range of valuable players. They're going to probably score pretty well. You just might need, you might be like, hey, I don't need to have the shiny, Drake May might be the guy that everyone wants. But I would just try to sell which one people want and just assume I can roll with the other 3 or the other 2 and be good with it. Yeah, 28 is far out. I'm just a sucker for a first, man. Like, I think people say it's far out, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, now 2028 for it's coming to play. And I think it depends on your league. If your league is very active and people don't hoard picks, but I feel like as leagues go on, people just start to hoard picks so much that it's almost impossible to trade picks that are close, right? It'd be like, there's so many times where it's like a league's year 3, year 4, and people are like, I'm a rebuilder, so I'm not trading the 6 first I have in the next 3 years. And it's like, well, that takes out, 25% of the pick market. But yeah. Let's see. Kyle, holy crap. I love the freaking site. Appreciate it. Do you do the coding and statistical methodologies yourself? Jeez. Yes. This site has been made by me. So I have done everything on the site. I'm a data analyst and curious regarding the predictions and calculators. Yeah, I mean, if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of, and I can touch on a lot of it is just like general. I build kind of weird systems of, like, a lot of these is just pulling value data. Before the playoff calculator, it uses like Monte Carlo simulation and just says, like, based on each of the games, we simulate it 10,000 times. What are the odds that, if I have a 64% chance to win this game and a 47% chance to win this, like, how does that impact things? That's how I build these things out. And then those projections are based on the actual team rating, which is then based on ADP. And that's kind of like a sum. And then I do like some weird math. I don't want to bore people with it, but it's definitely just like, I'll be just tinkering, right? It'll be like, I'll be bored on the couch watching TV. I'll be like, you know what? Like, should I grind on the Steam Deck or do something? Like, sometimes I just need to sit back and just think about like a weird math problem that, I can plug into the site and make something cool. And the thing that is, like, when I started this, no one was using the site. And now the fact that I have a ton of people using it, and I even have people that want to listen to me solo talk for 2 hours about fantasy football is awesome. It's just, really amazing that it's really rewarding once I get that feedback loop of, I released something and people like it and all of that. Thank you, sir. Strong competing roster and still have Nico Puka, Tyreek at wide receiver. Appreciate the Dynasty Daddy approval. I'll give you the salute as we always do. But yeah, I mean, if you have that wide receiver room, sometimes you cash out on the old guys and kick the can to the future. And that's one of those things you do. Like, 28 is far out, but it's not going to be that far out in a year. That's how people, just wait until Jeremiah Smith of 2028 happens and everyone's like, oh man, I can get baby Gronk or whoever. I don't even know who's at that point. But, the hype is always there. Okay, I'm rolling with all 4 QBs until 3 of them pop off week 1 and then sell them to get best value. Yeah, I mean, I think it's something where they're probably not going to have a bunch of buyers week 1, right? Because week 1, everyone's healthy, but once injuries hit, once bye week hits, people are going to need quarterbacks and you're going to be like, which one do you want? I'd just say don't be picky, right? I think it's be like, I'm only trading Trevor Lawrence. It's like, well, you might be, giving yourself a 25% value cut by, picking a favorite when you have all those guys. Oh boy, I love this. The Woody's Roundup. Yes, you guys have talked me into it. It's Woody's Roundup here. This is it's deep when we're the Woody fan club, the Woody's Roundup. I like it. Do you guys think moving 2 of them for Lamar is too much? There's one guy that only has 1 QB for. Nope, I wouldn't move 2. I assume you're talking about the 4 guys, right? Yeah, I mean, I would stack them for Lamar. Because most likely at 10-team Superflex, Lamar actually makes a difference in WAR. Stroud and Murray do not, most likely. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a decent move in my opinion. How do I determine starter rank and value? So I use the selected rankings, which is during the off season, average ADP, and during the actual season, it's rest of season rankings. So it filters out like, oh, Christian McCaffrey got injured, he's not still worth the RB5. But basically, I have a weird calculation that values players differently, but really it just kind of at a high level sums together all the ADPs cross positionally and then inverts them all. So it's so that players aren't like negative and stuff. But basically what it does is it sums together all the players and then inverts them so that the lower numbers are higher and then the higher numbers are worse. And then that's how I build these team ratings that you see over here and on the trade value page. And these are the ones that power every single simulation and all of that. And honestly, I thought when I first did it, I was like, okay, there's probably some better way of doing this. But the more I've used it, I'm like, honestly, that seems to be a decently accurate way of projecting leagues. Yes, the baby Gronk mentioned, we've definitely hit the Will needs to pee portion of this stream. Yes, we are nearing that as well. Let's see. I doubt you can get Lamar for 2 of them if you can't smash accept. Exactly. In a 10 QB league, if you can get Lamar for 2 quarterbacks, I would do that. I've had baby Gronk on my taxi for the past 2 leagues, and a campus, a kindergarten. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the kindergarten to Canton. That's an interesting one. I wonder if who has a Philip Rivers kid. And Poppy's home is a cutie. I will say, as we kind of head towards wrapping things up, I do want to show off. I've been putting a lot of work into the new fantasy portfolio tool. So anyone that's stuck around this long, I just wanted to show it off a little bit. So obviously, we have the new Dynasty Daddy accounts, which are free, and you can link your leagues for free now. And what that will allow you to do is now when you go into portfolio, it will automatically load your portfolio. You can click resync. And now every time you load, every day, it will automatically resync. So you don't have to resync every day. But if you just recently made a trade and wants to see how it changes things, you can click resync and it will update everything. We still have, for all the snoopers out there that want to connect to an individual sleeper username, or you can use the verified portfolios. That stuff is still there, but you can resync the leagues here. I have a few that are technically not my leagues, but just because I was testing things. But I also added in filters, so you can filter that like only Dynasty leagues, and that'll be update everything and update the rostership and exposure and all of that, which is really cool. A lot of the other things are the same, but the nice part is it's so much more snappy. I don't have to sit there, connect all my leagues, and go through all of that. It's almost instant. And then I can also, one thing I recently added is if you expand it, you'll see it now integrates in with their starting lineups for most platforms. There's a couple that are not supported, like Flea Flicker, but most platforms, it will connect to your platforms. Or most platforms will connect to your start sit. So, for example, on Sunday, or whenever you're setting your lineups, you can come in here and it will tell you across all your leagues if you have any injured starters. So that'll be very useful for those times. And another thing I recently added is it will also track when you rostered a player and the change in value since when you roster that player to to current day. So you get a little bit more. You can kind of track when I got Mostert, 7 days ago, now he's down 2% in value. And I think a cool example is I had. I picked up an extra share of Marvin Harrison Jr. Where is that? Where is that at? I feel like I'm missing it. Where's Marvin Harrison. Right, I picked up an extra share. So you see 4 days ago, his value's gone up 0.7%. 7 days ago, it's up 0.4 or 0.6%. So I don't know. I know the portfolio tool isn't the most used tool, but I wanted to make it a little bit easier to use, easier to track everything. So just kind of wanted to give everyone a breakdown of all the spicy, exciting stuff I've been working on. But yeah, thank you, Will. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. This is the goal, Kyle. Is we are trying to get everything just all in one. And I think something that's going to be underrated during the season is when you have multiple leagues, especially when you have that one annoying league on a different platform. And you're like, oh, wait, I had an injured player in this league, and I forgot to check. Now it would show I don't have any injured starters currently, but it will give you a little red box at the top, and you can expand it, and you can click exactly on that league, and it'll open that league for you. So it makes it super easy for you to actually just go and update all your leagues. So I do really appreciate all you guys for hanging with me this long. We, as in all of us here, all of us in the Woody's Roundup crew, are trying to build up a fun live stream community. So I do really appreciate you hanging on this long. And as always, we'll give you a salute. We'll see you next Tuesday. Check out the video I just dropped today, talking about my 5 favorite values in the NFL draft currently. A lot of fun stuff coming soon as well. Thank you. This is terrific. Dynasty Daddy is by far the best fantasy tool that I've ever come by. Subscribing to that Patreon, I assume, was a no-brainer. Appreciate you, bro. Yes, thank you for the Patreon as well. I do have a Patreon, $6 a month. It gets you ad-free, gets you league-infused, which is, I do have a video on the channel about that, but it ties war in with fantasy markets to build a custom fantasy market for your league. So you can understand how war actually shapes the values in your league. But definitely check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Like, comment, subscribe. Woody's Roundup or Dynasty Kiddos? I I feel like the Woody's Roundup is more controversial. I don't know if everyone's going to be on the Woody Marks gang. But I do really appreciate everyone for supporting. You know, it's one thing I will say, I'll leave it on this, is I remember when I first posted the site, I was nervous. I was like putting myself out there and all that. And I got a similar feeling with when I first started making videos and all that. But, you know, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, hoping that this channel as well can take off like my website. So, again, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Shout out to my little sister Faith, popping in at the very end. But until next week, I'll see y'all next Tuesday. Hopefully we'll get some more videos up, but I just dropped one this week as well, and I hope everyone has a great evening. Peace. Oh, hold on. Where's the stop stream? Okay, there we go. In broadcast. Now it's peace.